been a motion since we got it.
Okay, so we're recording. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 6 o'clock. Welcome everyone. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lisa?
June is recognized by the state of Idaho as School Board member month. And so we have a little gift for each of you, just to say thank you for the numerous hours that you put in to help run the district. All paid at a very high rate of $0 per hour. And just your heart for kids and our staff is really appreciated, and so we just wanted to say thank you. So let's have a little something for each of you. And they are personalized, so this for Randy. Welcome. This for Ramona. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. And Jill. You're welcome. Thank you for all that you do for our district. Thank you for letting me hijack the agenda.
Not a worry. Not a worry. Right now, I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. With that, we will lead into the budget hearing.
Here we go. Hello, trustees. Thank you for the time to present our prepared budget this evening. If you would like to open the budget hearing presentation.
Would you please identify yourself?
Oh, yes. Jessica Grantham, CFO of the Lakeland Joint School District.
Thank you.
Do you want to control the mouse so you can see what you're talking about?
Sure. Thanks, Olivia. So the first part of your packet is just the budget overview. This is the required legal disclosure that we have to post in the paper. It also is the required disclosure for the state of Idaho. You can see based on this, we're proposing a total general fund M&O revenues of $51 million with the equaling expenses. For all the other funds, which are federal funds, your plant facility levy, bus depreciation, those other funds that are in there, we're looking at $15.3 million with equaling expenses. The next page, do you have any questions on it? Okay.
So we are decreasing the budget by $2 million?
And remember, part of that is spending out those ESSER dollars, the federal funds that we're spending out. So yes, we are decreasing it, but it's intended to be decreased.
Okay.
This is similar to what you saw at our previous budget workshop with the minor adjustments in federal funding that we talked about.
Okay.
The next page is, again, just a state required budget summary that we are required to provide to the state of Idaho. Our general fund, we're anticipating a slight increase in enrollment for next fiscal year, tracking at potentially 47, almost 4,800 students. But keep in mind that the state has changed the funding methodology. We're going away from enrollment to ADA, which is the average daily attendance. So we're anticipating that we will receive a decrease in funding from the state based on that adjustment. So we're looking at potentially 225 until we get through enrollment. It could be potentially a little bit less, hopefully a little bit more.
Okay.
So just to go over the levy dollars, with our recently passed supplemental levy, we receive a formula-driven funding from the state of Idaho to provide basic programming. Although the funding is supplemental for our levy, it supports programs that we may not be able to offer that are either unfunded or underfunded through the funds that we receive from the state. So the supplemental levy basically is a renewal of funding for safety, some extracurricular activities, athletics, our student transportation, and then staffing. Additionally, we had the plant facility levy that was just passed again. We will be able to utilize those funds for one-time projects. It's not, or projects that are meant to be, have a useful life of more than a year. So facility capital projects, technology equipment, purchase of vehicles or buses. Just to show that we have decreased our tax responsibility for our base in Kootenai County, I have two properties here. One is in the county part of the Lakeland Joint School District taxing district, and the other is in the city of Rathdrum. And you can see, even though property values have increased, the portion that's related to our district has decreased year over year. All right, and the last one that I wanted to cover before we get into the different funds is the pandemic relief funds. So beginning in 2020, when we started receiving CARES Act funds from the federal government, we've had about 12 federal grants that we've received, totaling a little over $10 million. We've committed to spend about $2.3 million of that with the approval of some curriculum tonight, and then have about $500,000 that'll carry into next year that has a plan to be spent as we finalize some salary payments and maybe a little bit of additional curriculum. We do have a plan. If you notice, there's some small balances out there. We do have a plan for the homeless awards that are out there, but plan to have all of it spent out by the end of this fiscal year, or the next fiscal year. Okay, getting into the general fund. So the general fund is where the bulk of our operational funds are. So this is the largest fund in our financial statements. This is where the state operational funding and our supplemental levies reside. The majority of the general fund revenues are used for operational costs, and they're not necessarily subject to special reporting oversights beyond board policy and applicable state laws. So this is where you'll see the majority of that state funding come through and our supplemental levy. You'll notice that we are dipping a little bit into fund balance, but we've identified some cost savings for that, so that we're not dipping so far into fund balance for next year. I do want to leave that in. My recommendation is to leave that in, as we don't know what enrollment's going to look like in the fall, and so that provides a little bit of a cushion instead of truing it up and bringing it down to a flat number, to allow for a little bit of cushion if we need to adjust, especially with the change from enrollment to ADA.
Question.
Yes.
Just with respect to the general fund, the 90,000 transfer out, why is that not also accounted for on the transfer in?
So that is us transferring out to the Medicaid services to help support that.
Okay.
So you'll see that in Fund 310. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on this one? So the bulk of the general fund revenues are coming from state foundation programs, state categorical programs, and then our local tax revenue. There's some other transfers in just other revenues that we receive into the general fund, and a small amount of federal funding. The bulk of our general fund expenditures are salaries and the associated benefits. So that makes up about 89% of the general fund budget. Altogether, if you look at the Lakeland budget in a whole, it's about 2/3 of our budget is in salaries and fringe, but in the general fund specifically, it's about 89%. The rest of it is covered in purchase services, with some funds set aside for materials and supplies, and a little bit for other, which don't fit into those two categories. us into our other funds. So federal forest funds are paid on, it's federal funding that's passed through the school district based on the decline in revenue from timber harvest on federal lands. This is not guaranteed funding, so we generally only use this for one-time items, something that we don't have to continually carry on just in case we don't receive the funding. We're estimating about $22,000 in revenue in this one this year. The next one is facility funds from local sources. This is where we receive energy rebates and recycling money and any other donations from other local sources that we use to help offset plant expenses. It's a very, very minimal amount. We have a little bit budgeted toward our maintenance department, but it's mainly to help offset any facility costs that we have. Okay, Fund 232 is our base fund. We want base to be self-supporting. We do have a informational item for you regarding the base rates tonight. It won't be voted on, but just providing what you asked for on the breakdown on the rates. So we're anticipating that they will be self-supporting again this year with that increase. Next is literacy dollars. This is funding from the state. The majority of it is for staffing. We cover 50% of the salaries for our kindergarten teachers and a chunk of our first grade teachers. But we will continue with that plan for the next fiscal year. Fund 243 is the state CTE, so career technical education allocation. Colby Matilla at K-Tech helps us with this one. We're pretty close to the exact number. We haven't received the final formula for this one, but the majority of this one is utilized for supplies and materials for the CTE programs within our school district.
So just to clarify, those are not the CTE programs that are housed at K-Tech. Those are the ones that are actually on our campuses.
And on our campuses taught within our school district, not at K-Tech specifically. So those are your CTE programs. Timberlake, Lakeland, we have them.
FCLA, FFA, BPA. Yeah.
I named them all off. Thank you guys. Okay. The next one is Fund 246. Oh, did I pass? And it's 245. So 245 is state technology. This is where we receive money from the state. It cannot be used for staffing, so this is used mainly for purchasing Chromebooks for the district. We have a little bit of a surplus in there just because we had some money come back on some Chromebooks this year. We do have an order placed. I anticipate that won't come in until July, so we're projecting that carry forward for the Chromebooks to be paid out in July.
So is this solely for equipment, or is it also for like all of the online applications that the district's constantly purchasing? Do you know?
That's a great question. I can look into it.
Okay.
I know that traditionally it's been used for Chromebooks purchases in recent years, but I can look and see if we've put anything else in there.
Okay, well, I'm just curious if we're allowed to spend it
It's
that way.
meant to be used for technology purposes.
Okay, so it would seem reasonable
Yes.
if we have to purchase
For
software
applications.
licenses.
Okay.
Yep. So Fund 246 is our safe and drug-free schools. There. This is money from the state to help pay for our, we're using it for SROs.
Okay.
Using it to pay for a portion of our contract, our SRO contracts with the city of Rathdrum and the city of Spirit Lake.
Okay.
248 is miscellaneous grants, so we do receive some miscellaneous grants. United Way, there's some other grants that we receive just from the state, STEM grants, things like that. We put them here and keep track of them. It's an in and out fund. We receive the money, we expend it, it's a net zero.
Okay.
You may see a fund balance there just because grants don't always have the same fiscal year that we do.
Okay.
So when our teachers apply for grants, this is
Yep,
where it's
this
housed.
is where it lives.
Yep. one teacher in particular who's very prolific when it comes to grant writing.
Next one is the ARP ESSER dollars. We've kind of covered this already. We have a plan for curriculum for this and hopes to get the rest of it approved this evening.
So that will cover the science and the ELA
Okay.
and math.
And our next one is federal Title I dollars. These are funds that we receive to meet, to help students who are most at risk of not meeting state standards and to reach proficiency on state assessments. We had a small decrease in this from our budget workshop. This is one of the funds that I told you that once we got the final numbers, we knew that we would have a small decrease on this. Staffing has been adjusted accordingly to reflect that decrease. Next
So
is
we no longer have Title I staff being paid from general fund.
Right.
So the Title I program is being fully supported by Title I dollars.
our next one is federal Title II. So it is a federal grant to increase student achievement by improving the quality and effectiveness of teachers and principals within our school district. We're currently using the funding for two technology instructional coaches with some supplies for them in this book.
And some professional.
And professional development, yes.
I have a question
Yeah.
real quick. I'm way behind you guys. I have too many questions. The Title I money, or I'm sorry, the ESSER 3 funds, you said that's being used for curriculum, but what curriculum was it again? You said science, math, and ELA? No.
Yeah, the it's high school math, so we already paid for the
Right.
paid
Okay.
board. So it's all the curriculum that has been and we're hoping will be improved.
It's all right behind you.
Right, I just wanna put it in my notes. So that's right, science, math, and ELA.
Yes.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Thank you.
All right. 257 is our IDEA funds, federal special education funds for school-age children. These are allocated to the district to address students with disabilities. We provide a variety of services out of these funds for students. This is one of the funds that we had an increase on, which was fantastic, so we're able to provide more student supports. This is mainly salaries and fringe for those student supports with some supplies and materials budgeted in. Our next fund, yeah.
Do we have any special ed teachers that are not funded here?
Yes.
How many?
I don't know how many off the top of my head. Is that 521?
257.
257 or 857, right?
257 is,
Yeah.
257 is the.
Yeah, and that's the one that we're over $52,000.
Yeah.
We just are bringing in a small carry forward. We're anticipating a small carry forward. That we're not anticipating a carry forward into future years, but we're projecting a small carry forward there.
Okay.
And Trustee Jones, you wanted to know how many teachers are not paid with these funds, special ed teachers?
How many special ed teachers are paid out of general fund?
Okay. 258 is the same funding, but for preschool age students, so students aged 3 to 5. All of this is budgeted to recover a 0.5 FTE certified salary out of this one.
But that doesn't pay for the whole.
No.
preschool.
No,
Yeah.
It does not.
because we actually have 2 whole bodies, not just
Right.
one.
Not
Right,
just a half
well,
of one.
Yeah, it would be cool to see their actual budget, like what we spend, what we receive in funding, cause it's one little school we never really
Hear anything.
I mean, we all know it's there, but we don't ever get any report on what's going on there. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay, thank you.
I am making a note of that. Our next one is Fund 260, which is our Medicaid fund. This is where that transfer in from the general fund is coming from. So the Medicaid fund, we provide services to students that are eligible for Medicaid billing and reimbursement. The Medicaid reimbursement revenues help pay for the cost of those special services that we're providing to those students. for student support. It's a grant to support students and their academic enrichment. This grant can cover training for staff and students. We cover a portion of our SRO's salaries out of this. You can also purchase instructional software licenses for enrichment and remediation out of this budget. We currently have it set for salaries and fringe, but are looking at if that's the best use of the funds for that fiscal year. Fund 263 is our federal CTE dollars, which is Carl Perkins funds. These again we have the assistance of Colby K-Tech to help manage these funds. This pays for the equivalent of 0.56 FTE, which is 2 individuals here within the district that are doing work within our schools. And then a little bit of some supplies money for programs within the schools that are meeting those state or the federal CTE program guidelines.
Fund 263.
263, yeah, is the federal Perkins.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, there's just nothing allocated for purchased or supplies and
Oh,
materials.
I apologize for that. It should have that in there.
Okay.
Yep. There's about, when we just looked at the budget, since we did receive an increase in this one, about, I think it was a little, we had, I think this was 56,000, so we had a small increase to this one, so that's where we are putting the supplies in. So it went from, this was one of the ones that we talked about at the last meeting. I just missed reallocating the salaries and benefits to salaries and benefits and supplies.
Okay.
Alright, I have 271 in here twice, so I'm going to skip past that one. Fund 290 is our child nutrition services. We utilize Chartwell's for our child nutrition services. This is the reimbursements that we receive and any other local revenue that comes in. We do have a plan currently in place to help spend down the fund balance so that we're meeting the state threshold for what our fund balance should be. So I anticipate that we'll bring forward a request for approval to the board to purchase another food services truck for our food services program. In addition to buying some additional equipment for the schools for food service. And then they're replacing a lift gate on our existing truck as well to help bring down the fund balance on that. Fund 310 is your debt service. So the bond redemption fund accounts for the property tax collections and debt payments for active bonds. We anticipate with the passing of House Bill 292 that will that provides funding from the state to decrease local property taxes and pass the release on to the local taxpayers. So we budgeted on here so that we could have it in the budget, but we're anticipating that because of that House bill that passed, that we'll be able to receive the money from the state instead of from the taxpayers. So it'll kind of be a relief for the responsibility of the taxpayers for this portion. It has to be used for bonds, and then once that's taken care of, so we plan to have our bonds paid off in 2025. Once that's done, then we can use it for other things at that point.
We have to show in the budget that we're gonna collect those, otherwise we can't.
Right.
So even though we know that the state funding will cover it.
We'll cover it. We just won't know exactly what it looks like until we complete our L2 in August. Okay. Almost done.
This is probably the most information we've gotten on.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not going too
No.
fast for me, you could go
I'm
much
sorry,
slower,
Ramona.
because my brain's still way back there, I have a lot of questions,
Okay,
but
no problem.
you're fine.
The next one is Fund 420, which is our plant facility fund. This is where the plant facility revenue will come into, and like I said earlier, these are for projects that will last longer than a year, so we wouldn't be budgeting anything for materials and supplies out of this. This is where we would purchase additional vehicles or do facility maintenance that's required that we anticipate will last longer than a year. Do we have a question, Trustee Jones?
What?
I think Ramona has some questions.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine for right now, my question's back a bit, I think this just answered one of them, this,
Okay.
facilities project. Oh, I'm ahead of you now.
No, you're
But,
not.
the next one answered
Yeah.
the question of what I had previously was the capital.
Yeah, so Fund 421 is the board facility projects. This is where you guys have set aside money for the majority of it is the citing expenses at Lakeland Middle School, Apple Elementary, and Spirit Lake Elementary. This is where you agreed to the transfer over for those projects. So we're definitely showing the expenses in there, so that should be depleted. We're estimating potentially a small carry forward in there, but there's always additional costs when you're doing things.
Well, there's always
Always.
additional projects that
Yeah.
have to be done, so we can carry over, it's no
Yep.
problem.
And then new this year, you have Fund 422, which is your land reserve. This is from I believe it was a donation that the district received in addition to the sale of a couple of properties. The board has asked to designate that for future land purchases, so this is the transparency of being able to see it within its own fund. And the last one is the bus depreciation fund. So the state education budget provides limited funding for school bus purchases based on our existing bus fleet. So the funding is calculated using a formula similar to what we get for our state funding. And basically we get about enough to hopefully buy one bus, because buses have gotten really expensive. So we're anticipating with the amount that we have in there, we typically purchase 2 buses a year. However, with the plant facility funds, we could increase that to 4. That is all of our funds. Can I answer any questions for you?
First, I want to thank you for reporting on all of the funds, because that has never happened before, and it's much appreciated. Go ahead, Rob.
That $90,000 transfer on the general fund, I didn't notice where that's showing up on the.
It was in the Medicaid.
Oh, okay.
Yep, so that goes from our general fund into Medicaid to help support the services there.
Okay.
So back in the very beginning on page 6, when we put your levy dollars,
Yes.
there's no line item there, although the amount is the 9.5. There's no line item for the curriculum on that.
This is what we have published to,
There was a line item on the ballot.
Yeah.
okay,
For when
I
we-
might have missed that. So
Okay.
this is my chart, so I apologize if I missed that on there.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to review it and make sure that it's corrected.
Okay, all right, yep. Yeah, because that was on the ballot, that's correct. And then if we looked at page 9, which is the pandemic relief, all the ESSER funds, I think I got some of this. So it's a small amount, but the $5,600 for the lunch program, are we gonna use that toward the other child nutrition?
So we're currently using that for the milk that we purchase.
Oh,
So
okay.
we anticipate that will be spent out very quickly. So we're using
Okay.
it for milk purchases.
Okay, all right. And then the 492, was that a portion for, where were we using that? Was that the
So
curriculum or?
We're using it for salaries and benefits, so
Okay.
finish paying out the salaries and benefits, but if there's anything left, we could utilize it for curriculum.
Okay. And then what about the homeless 1 and 2,
So
whatever that is,
we have some-
42,000,
Yep, we have some great ideas for that, including some washer and dryers in schools to help assist with clean clothing for the families that fall into that population. Potentially looking at a small activity bus to help transport those children. There was another idea. What am I
We had to
missing?
pay $20,000 in transportation for a family that we've been transporting all year.
Yeah, if we could purchase one more of those buses, then it would really free up our transportation department, because right now when we have to go into Coeur d'Alene to get a kiddo to bring here because they started with us and they're in a women's shelter, they're getting to school late and leaving early just to try to accommodate all the route schedules. So if we have one of those mini buses, then we have one person kind of dedicated to transferring or transporting our kiddos.
Is that something we do quite regularly every year? Okay. Okay. So possibly.
These are dollars
okay.
we didn't know we had, so.
So how many students this year did we do that with?
We have 6 families currently that are homeless.
That we're transferring.
Some were off and on, but there's been a family that consistently has been transported from a shelter to school since like November.
Okay, so just one family that's consistent?
That's consistent. Other than that, we've purchased gas cards for some students if they drive themselves. So some of that cost as well. But reimbursing the bus is a big chunk of that money.
And we are currently utilizing federal title dollars for those because it's allowable under that.
Yeah.
Like Lisa said, we're looking at how we can spend these funds better. Yeah, these are federal.
So we get other federal dollars under does the McKinney-Vento have its own?
It's wrapped into which title one?
Oh, okay, it's all
Yeah.
part of the title.
Yeah.
funds.
Uh-huh.
Okay, okay.
There's a mandatory set aside in Title I for
Right.
homeless,
Yeah.
and but it's a small percentage that we're required to set aside, and, we always have spent more than what we
We have no problem spending.
Yeah.
set aside.
Mhm. Have we surveyed the schools to get an idea from them? I mean, I know you guys have your admin meetings, but maybe to get an idea from them, how this may be used in their own school, or if they have, I know some of the schools have different populations of students that might need more food to get through the weekend, or come in the snow with sandals, or, that kind of thing. I was just wondering if we got any input from anybody else in the
We
district.
just found out about this money. Jessica told me about it on Friday.
Okay.
So we immediately knew of some of our families that attend those buildings, and that's why we reached out. The washer and dryer were mentioned because that was something that was in
Okay.
need that they were requiring.
Yeah.
Not all of our buildings are equipped for a washer and dryer, so we did contact Mike to see how difficult that would be and the cost. So it's in a work in progress as
Okay.
of Friday midday.
Yep, yep, and you guys are gonna bring that to the board then when you have more information on it?
Yep. we can.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. I would like that information. I think washer and dryer is a great idea. There's probably a few schools that could benefit from that.
Mountain,
Yes.
Mountain View for sure.
Yep, yep, and the elementary schools, those little kids.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's a really good idea, yeah, okay.
We have some washers and dryers in some of our elementary schools already.
Okay,
Were these funds that were just added this year?
They were
or-
not just added,
Okay.
but as we were preparing this chart, I had just asked, what's our plan with these ones?
Okay, I was just curious, thank you.
And I can't say, I asked Chelsea to actually pull all this, cause Chelsea's super great, she just put it into the chart that I wanted.
Yeah, no, it's great, it's all great information.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very good information. I don't wanna commandeer everybody's time, but does anybody else have a question?
I just interrupted as we went
Yeah.
along, so.
So on page 11, I just had a question, and I sort of heard you cover this, but I was typing something else. The local tax revenue that showed there, the 23.5%, is that just the levy dollars? Is
It's
that
the
what?
supplemental levy and the tort,
Okay.
funds that we received.
Oh, okay, all right, so it's just the, because I was like, well,
It's a little bit more than our levy because of those tort funds. that we
Right, that's what I was
received.
wondering, and then, so where are we seeing the other levy?
So that,
Plant
it's
funds.
separate from the general fund, so this chart is specific
Oh,
to
just the
general fund,
general
the
fund.
fund
Okay,
100
gotcha.
revenues.
Okay, all right, gotcha, perfect. Okay, and then the next page, the by object,
Yes.
this other group, this 300,000 other, can you give me an example of what other is?
Happy
What
to
is
look
that?
into that for you.
Okay. I'm just not sure what that is. And we already talked about the ESSER funds and the curriculum. transfer, key tech.
It's insurance and judgments
Judgments.
and other, and transfers out. That's
Okay.
what that 301 totals.
Okay,
Thank you,
perfect.
trustee.
Thank you. Good, I didn't put a note. Where did you find that information at, Randy, if I can ask?
I just
on
looked at the
page
budget
2.
summary
Oh.
on
Yep.
page 10
Oh, okay.
and added together the two expenditures of
Oh,
211,
gotcha.
200 and the 90,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
so the 90,000 is a transfer to Medicaid.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Should know my own statement.
It's alright.
Good job.
It's a lot of numbers.
Just like to know, because those are one of those categories people always, you know. like
The
cling to.
other,
Yeah, what's the other?
You guys are just-
I will make
Fashion
sure that
money and the
instead
other.
of other, I put
Yeah.
the official
And
title.
miscellaneous.
Yeah.
Miscellaneous is not my favorite word either.
Yeah. This miscellaneous. Okay, and we talked about the schools that, I know at one point our, where did I put it, our, food services fund was ginormous.
Yes.
Let's see, what was that,
So-
page 30, and I do know that we bought like, oh yeah, child nutrition, there we go, yep, on page 30. And I know that we bought a lot of equipment, and some other things, I don't remember what else we bought.
Tables
The
and
chiller
some heating
tables.
trays.
Yeah,
Yep, and we, like I said, we do have a plan, that will come to the board to purchase an additional food service truck,
okay,
to help transport the meals. We just put in a PO to buy a liftgate. It was less than $10,000 to buy the liftgate to replace the existing liftgate that's on our existing truck. And there's some additional, coolers, refrigerators, and some additional tables to help furnishing all of the schools.
So would this be like a second truck? Cause I believe we
Yes.
just recently approved a food service truck.
This is a second truck.
can you, it might be a little word, can you give us at some point a look at, because I know that this fund was so huge, where, during the COVID, ESSER dollars, you know, how we got to where we are today, like
Yeah.
what,
So some history on that. During 2020 and 2021, 21, 22, USDA funded breakfast, lunch, and free of charge
Right.
to everybody in the district.
Yep.
Starting this year, they went back to
Right.
free reduced paid.
Mhm.
And so we had some buildup there because we were receiving reimbursements without having to charge students. So we were getting kind of, I don't wanna call it a surplus, but we were getting some additional funding. We are now seeing those reimbursements go down as we have students that are not partaking because the meals are not free.
right,
So that's gonna be part of the decline, plus our plan to spend down that will be within the state threshold, but I'd be happy to prepare
Yeah,
kind of
that
the
would be
history
great.
and show you where it's coming from.
yeah,
Well, I think, just sort of piggybacking on what trustee Grisson's requesting, all along, we were seeing expenditures go out to Chartwell when we're told it's all free. We never saw the money come back in. So if we could kind of get an overview, starting say from 2020.
2020 on?
Here's where we were, here's all the money that came in the free, that, you know, here's what we expended out, here's what got reimbursed, et cetera. So that we can see a whole picture instead of just a snapshot of here's where you are today.
Be happy to prepare.
Perfect, thank you.
What is the state threshold for that fund balance?
I can't remember off the top of my
No,
head.
that's
We
okay, yeah.
did just prepare a plan to get
Okay.
down within it. I believe it's around 600,000, which is the ending balance that we have there.
Okay.
It's basically enough to have operations at the beginning of the fiscal year, but not carry forward a balance.
Gotcha.
The air conditioner's not working.
Okay.
It was 78 and now we're up to 79. So
Oh,
we're in the
really?
wrong
So it's just not me sweating this
No.
presentation up here.
We're doing amazing.
yeah, we were all
Yes.
trying to,
Yeah.
I thought I was having a hot flash.
a really long one.
Is there any fans in here?
I asked earlier and was told no.
No fans?
Chelsea has a report already for 290 that we can share with you. She's
Perfect.
been tracking it as you passed.
Okay, perfect.
We have the best finance team in the state right now.
Yes, we do. I would have to agree, 100%.
I love seeing this
Yes,
in print, like
yes.
actual.
And I will tell
love
you,
this.
I'd like to change up the format next year and provide you with a booklet that has all
Yeah,
of these
that
fund
would be
descriptions. That's my plan. I just didn't have enough time to implement it this year, but
Are you
next
serious?
year.
You've done amazing with the time you've had, so.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm thrilled. You guys have done.
You've given way more
Awesome.
information than we've
Yeah.
ever been given,
I
so
love
thank
it.
you.
My recommendation is that the board approve this budget tonight. If there's no other questions, we do have to meet the state requirement, to get this submitted to them, so.
More questions?
I have no more questions, no, I think this is just so great because I feel like I can answer people's questions now without hoping I'm right,
Right.
you know?
Right.
I can really say, oh, go here, go to page
Yeah.
such and such, look at such, and, that's like awesome, I thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
so all of these pages will be uploaded to the website under, where we put our approved budget, so
Mhm.
patrons can go in and take a look at
Yeah,
this.
it's
And
great.
the first page was published in the paper as required by state statute.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any more questions.
Well, on that note,
Do
Thank
you
you,
want me to
Jessica.
send you a copy of the supplemental levy ballot so you can see every line item that was on there?
I do have a copy.
Oh,
I
you
think
do?
I just
Okay.
missed it when I was
Alright, that's
putting it
fine.
together. My
Yeah.
apologies.
so based on that, on our presentation, I'll entertain action on the 23-24 budget as presented.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry. This is a budget hearing, and
Oh.
during the budget hearing, we do allow if there is a public input.
Thank you. Does anyone have public comment or questions that they would like to ask in regard to the budget that's being proposed? Clarifying questions? Just, congratulations, it looks better.
Thank you for saving us money.
Words of encouragement.
Yeah. Alright, so as there are no public input on our 23-24 proposed budget, I will entertain a motion at this time regarding that.
I move to approve the budget as presented.
Second.
As with corrections mentioned.
Mm.
Oh, yeah. Like with the corrections mentioned.
Second. Whomever.
It's pretty good when you're fighting over approval of something, that's good.
So we have a motion and a second. Shall we do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Trustee Quimby,
Yes.
Trustee Bain.
Yes.
Trustee Jones.
Yes.
Trustee Grissom.
Yes.
Chairman
Yes.
Thompson, okay. That's all yes.
On that note, the budget passes.
Good work.
Jessica's done an amazing job in
Yes, she
the
has.
5 weeks that she's been with us.
Her and Chelsea make a good team.
They are a
So-
great team,
For sure.
yeah.
So we are going to move into public input. I just want to remind everyone out there that the time for public input is provided for the public to express themselves to the board. It is not a time to engage with the board, nor is it a time for question and answers. The board in its discretion may ask clarifying questions to ensure it understands the input provided. However, no discussions or conversations take place, and all input will be received within a 3-minute time limit. Please keep your input civil and respectful. Address the board, not the audience. Address issues, not persons. And please refrain from applause, snickers, whispers, quiet comments, etc., as it interferes with due process. On that note, do we have any public input? Okay, we have Anita Dubček, yes. I will get it at some point in time.
Anita Dubček, community member. Good evening, Chairman Thompson, Superintendent Arnold, and trustees. I just wanted to discuss 2 items that are on the agenda. The first is item K.1.B, Alexis, and it's in regards to the approval of the McGraw-Hill math curriculum being considered. I didn't review this particular curriculum, but I have a few concerns. I will say up front that I don't know much about AI technology and imagine schools are relying on the experts to create what they think is best for the students. However, we've seen over the past 3.5 years what relying on the experts has done to our communities. I'm assuming that a textbook is being used in addition to the digital piece. I am concerned about the AI component in the digital part of this adoption. The company's opening line for this component is, following 3 years of research and development, McGraw-Hill has announced the development of deep learning neural networks into the artificial intelligence behind its ALEX Math and Chem program, making it more efficient and effective for students' learning, and using deep learning neural networks, which is a form of machine learning that uses algorithms in a way that resembles the human brain, ... And it claims that it reduces the time the students take doing assessments by more than 20%, allowing students more time to learn new topics within the program. This AI technology is changing so fast, we really don't know where it's going. And we've seen how papers can be written, sermons can be given, very complicated math problems can be solved, intricate questions can be answered, and who knows what else. We've seen how new technologies, medicines, and ideas start slowly and then gain acceptance fast without knowing the full scope of the effects, and more often than not, we suffer because we push through so fast. Idaho standards for math haven't changed over the past several years, so why the push to move students quickly through subject matter using new technology when, for years, teachers are able to accomplish what is needed and required in a school year? You may call me a conspiracy theorist, but so much is being pushed on our children so fast that harmful ideations are being inserted into our lives without us being aware. I say keep AI in any form away from our students. And then the second one is item K.9. That's the Model UN Club. And as far as the Model UN Club is concerned, my worry is not the money, but rather it's the club's mission. If you take a look at the website for the Model UN Club, you are taken to the Sustained Development Goals of the UN, 17 goals to transform our world. While these goals sound lofty, no poverty, no hunger, responsible consuming and production, sustainable cities and communities, to name a few, a deeper dive into all 17 goals will show the harms that occur and are never mentioned. And for lack of that transparency alone, I ask that the club be denied. I mean, how can our students make educated decisions if they aren't given all the information? Thank you.
Anita, could we have that for the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Any additional comments, public input? Great. Then we will move into reports. We have an ongoing agenda for the Parent Advisory Committee. Do we have any comments, questions, or conversation regarding the running agenda? No? Bob, any comments?
No.
Okay. Moving on to the financial report from Chelsea Persley, our treasurer. Is Chelsea here?
Yeah,
There you are. Okay.
If you have any questions, I'm sorry, I have no books right now.
Oh, no worries. I'm just curious. Last year at this time, we were at 97.93% revenue, and currently we're at 89.9. Do you have any idea why we're so far behind?
You know, I'd have to look for sure, but I know one of our foundation payments was a little bit bigger than it normally is.
Okay.
And other than that, that was might be my only guess.
Okay.
So that the answer to that.
I just noticed that and I thought, huh, that's a little odd. And then on other, fabulous category. We are over. Do we know why? Other, we are showing, let me, it's page 4, I think. Is that it? Oh, there we are. Yeah, it's showing that we had budgeted 3,000,001, but we're sitting at 3,000,002. Is more coming in this category, or do you know?
I don't
And this is under expenditures. Okay,
Sorry, I'm still learning all this.
I respect that.
Yeah, no,
I
but I
just-
can find out and get the information to
Okay.
you.
That'd be great, 'cause
Yes.
I'd like to know what's going on in that
Absolutely.
category, why
Mhm.
we're
Why we're
over there.
above what, yes.
Yeah, what was expected.
Mhm.
We're also over in the purchased services category.
Oh, yeah, we
So if we
are.
could get that as
Mhm.
well.
Yes.
Yeah, and it looks, okay, that was just nothing activity, okay. That'd be good to know if we have more activity that's gonna be coming in as well
Mhm.
for purchase services. And any other comments, questions, discussion on the financials?
I don't know.
None for me.
Hold on, I've got so many things open, it's kinda crazy. Okay. Alright, thank you, Chelsea. Oh, Bob, I wanted to ask you, at the last meeting, you were going to have a conversation with Chelsea.
Didn't happen.
It didn't happen, okay. I was just curious what was found out, cause I'm sure you.
Too many other things.
Gotcha, okay. Will you still intend to have that conversation?
Maybe, I don't know, we'll see.
Okay, well, I guess on that note, cause I know there is concern with the balances within the schools, specifically like the larger amount balances. If we can get kind of an understanding of how we got there, why we remain there, and
What's the plan for those?
Yeah.
What's the intent for it?
because it's significant when you clump it all together. And when we have to answer to taxpayers and trying to figure out what's going on.
Yep, Chelsea started that work.
Okay.
She's had an initial meeting with the 2 activities directors and
Okay.
Their bookkeepers.
Okay.
To really kind of dialing in the athletics, but do you want to address that?
I can, and we'll have a little bit better idea as we dive into this a little bit more. We just had a meeting last week, I think.
Okay.
In discussion with them, we have so many more groups at the buildings than we ever have.
Okay.
And those groups hold balances, and I know in looking at them, sometimes they look high, sometimes some are a lot lower than others, and it's really just a plan for and how they want to purchase, like if they're wanting to purchase bigger items.
Right.
And the reason why they have a little bit higher balance than they have in past years is because with the levy, we have at the district taken on or helped them out a lot more with things like uniforms and
Correct.
busing and that kind of thing. So they're able to kind of actually plan and purchase bigger items for their programs.
Mhm.
In discussion with them, we would like them to start picking up a portion of their uniforms to try, because even though we did get our levy passed, everything's more expensive, and we
Correct.
are having to cut things still, so we're asking them to pay for a portion of those kinds of things. So that's where those balances are gonna start going,
Okay.
is to to support their programs a little bit more. But we're asking them that if they're carrying balances, that we know why they're carrying balances. And that was a discussion we just had last week, so we're just now starting that process.
The conversation that we had was if kids are fundraising for money, then we should be spending those funds on the kids who did the fundraising, and they should benefit from that. Unless they have a plan that it's gonna take a couple of years to get the money that they need for new wrestling mats or whatever the big purchase item might be.
Well, and I think, if we could, as difficult as it may be, prepare something that's more, conducive to the layperson and in understanding these documents, because yes, there is this huge amount, and then we have all these different sub-accounts that may or may not have money, and then we've got journal entries, and we've got posted, and we've got things that are hanging out. So if we just had more of a simplistic,
Something similar to.
profit and loss, that just said, here's our income, and here's what's spending, and here's what we've got hanging out that
Like a
we're
ledger.
intending to accomplish.
So, go ahead.
I was just gonna mention, the report that Matt and Hannah, provided, which was later on the agenda, I thought was very helpful to have some
huge.
understanding of what, what
Exactly.
they're doing those funds.
Yes.
So if we can get that kind of reporting, I think that would relieve our mind a bit, about why those balances are out there.
I'm unaware of what Matt has in there.
It's okay.
It's, yeah, his just,
Is it his athletic breakdown?
He just-
Okay.
what they've, all the projects they've completed at Lakeland High School.
Which aren't reflective on these reports.
Right.
It's something
Because it's-
outside of these reports, but.
So, yeah, because this one's not itemized.
Right.
So I can get you the more itemized, they will be so much larger.
So
That's my concern, is that you want more simplistic, but if I get the details of it, it's gonna be bigger.
Can we summarize the
Think of that.
detail, or the larger one into just like a quick presentation by building of, this is football, softball,
similar to
whatever.
her budget breakdown of the other funds is kind of what I was wondering
Okay.
if that would be helpful, where this is the revenue for football, and these are the expenses, or this is the,
That would be perfect.
you know, what we're paying in uniforms, what we're paying for. And then if there's a fund balance, what's the intent
Yeah.
of it? That's
That
what
would be
you're looking
great,
for, right?
yes, because we don't know, and we seem to continually ask the same question over and over. And I'm sure it gets frustrating because nobody's trying to imply anything, but these balances keep growing, so we need to figure out what's going on and why.
Okay.
In lay people's terms.
Not sheets and sheets and sheets of Skyward printouts.
No, yeah, please don't do that. Please do not do that. Okay, thank you, Chelsea.
Can I ask one clarifying question?
Yes.
Would you like that for just the high schools, or would you like that for the junior highs, high schools, all schools?
I think it would be appropriate for all schools, yeah. Any other questions on the financial reports? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have lots of minutes, and we have lots of subcommittee minutes. Before I have my things, does anybody have any questions regarding these? Okay. The 4/27 special meeting and work session minutes are not accurate, because they are actually the Science and ELA Curricular Adoption Committee meeting minutes. So, I did talk to Olivia today. There was actually the special meeting and work session that occurred, so I've asked her to please go back and draft the minutes off of what was recorded, since these were not done by Rosanna, who was the clerk at the time. So we will have to pull those out and bring them back to the board for review of the consent agenda. However, if you'll notice down under the subcommittee, the Science and ELA Curricular Adoption Committee meeting minutes are there, and it's the exact same thing that's up on top, but we're just missing what needs to be up on top, so those do need to be taken out. On the special board meeting minutes for June 25th, if you could, under the motion, we state what the motion is, and then we go into conversation because there was clarifying questions that were asked. If you could break that off of the motion, so the motion was standalone, and then show what it actually ended up being, that would be great. And if the discussion, at the end of item G3, there's a comment about discussion which is actually relevant to G.1, because it was the comment made by me about holding the workshop that we've decided we're gonna do that, and that, while the board wasn't, or I personally was challenged by things because we weren't able to address them again, but that we are gonna now hold a workshop prior to negotiation. So if that discussion can go up under G1 so that it flows with that topic, that would be great. And then I have asked the clerk for all the minutes of the subcommittees. She needs to take off the clerk name and the chair name because we just accept those. Nobody signs them, because we aren't part of those subcommittees. Well, with the exception of policy, but we're not signing them. They don't need to be signed because they're committee notes. HR items, does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on the HR items that were presented?
Are we gonna hire back some of these positions or, resigning or what they, okay.
Regular and special bills? Any conversation? And again, thank you for the breakout, Chelsea. That is appreciated.
I do not know.
Chelsea, could you provide the board, because I want it, so it needs to go to everybody, just a cost of what we spend annually for officials at both high schools?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you want the middle schools as well?
Sure. Does anybody else have any questions regarding the bills that were presented? Okay. So on that note, does anyone want to have any further discussion on any of the consent agenda? No? I don't know.
Good.
Great. Then I would move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the 4/27/23 special meeting and work session minutes. And with the removal of signatures on the subcommittee meeting minutes. You have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to old business, we have the Cooney County Sheriff MOU. Let's come back because they are now asking.
For 70%. So when I met with Sergeant Lawleton the end of March, and our MOU says that we're supposed to meet prior to April 1st, which we did. I asked him at that point in time if he thought that the 70% was going to come back, because if you remember last fall after the MOU was approved, they tried to get us to change, and we said no, it's already been approved, and so we're moving forward. So then Captain Smart came to meet with me here and said that the commissioners will not entertain an SRO unless we are willing to pay 70%, because their 30% comes from the marine money that they get from licensing boats and the little stickers you have to put on about not having invasive species, having it checked. And the other school districts that use those people that have a county SRO pay 70%. So if we want to maintain the SRO at Garwood, there's an increase to the district from 65% of salary and benefits to 70. And I have Rathdrum's MOU on there because if we're going to choose to do that for Kootenai County, I feel that we need to do the same for Rathdrum. So they're both there for your consideration.
But we don't know the cost on the Rathdrum.
No, not until their budget is done.
Well, my concern is the cost of the SRO is significantly more than the cost of an armed district safety specialist. And I don't like that.
Yeah, the relationship with the county is important.
Right.
And so, that's really the only reason that I'm bringing it forward, because I agree with you. I like our armed district safety specialists. There are people, we can put them where we want them, when we want them there, or a little bit at the whim of the county, although they did say if we bump it up to 70%, then there are people until summer, and that there would be, unless there was a catastrophic, huge all-agency event, that he would not be called out of Garwood for just minor call-outs.
This MOU is an old MOU, because the signatures for the commissioners are not correct.
Oh, did I put the wrong one in there?
It's an old board, like Commissioner Duncan is the chair, and then you have to have,
So the current one that you approved before hasn't been signed yet, because it came right back, so.
yeah. Okay, yeah, these aren't correct here. Filios is no longer there, Bruce Matari is now. And so we don't have a cost of what we would be looking at if we did that with Rathdrum.
Right.
Well, and the amount of money that's in the budget for the SROs is significantly underfunding this.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Yeah. It's almost.
Yeah,
a
the majority of the
15,000.
program is funded through the the supplemental money.
Yeah. So what would be your recommendation? Would it be to look for another safety specialist, or? Don't know.
It's hard because I do really want to continue to work closely with the county, and if we don't move forward, then we lose a great SRO who has really invested in that school, and they have some really good plans in place, and they would be starting over. I wouldn't be recommending that we continue with the MOU for the SRO if we couldn't fund it, but we can. So.
But we've made staffing reductions to accommodate the shortages that we are going to need, but yet here, you know, the funds we've asked for won't even cover, it'll cover half of one, unless Rathdrum comes in significantly less, which I doubt it's probably gonna be, maybe not that high, but it'll
Yeah,
be
the county
up there.
pays, the county definitely pays more.
And I'm not saying he's not worth that money, it's just we've tried to be extremely transparent, and he's making more than
They pay a
any
lot.
of our people.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is appropriate, nor do I think that that would sit well with the taxpayers.
And that budget that we just looked at, and that, took into account what we think we're gonna have from the state for the safety funding? It does, okay.
Yeah, we've pretty much gotten the same amount from the state for safety funding for the last several years.
Okay.
Yeah, on page 6, it says renewal of funding for SRO agreements, 76,000.
Okay.
So it's, it
Oh, the
will
levy
cover
and
that
the
one,
levy
but then
dollars.
Rathdrum
Gotcha.
doesn't have any money,
Right,
so
right,
that will
right.
come.
Right, I thought you were talking about the funding that the state just
No.
said they upped, kind of, I see.
No, I'm just talking about the levy dollars.
Yeah.
Because we have a specific amount allocated and
Right, so let's compare that though, because we did learn that those were incorrect. So what do you have, can you go back to that data?
yeah, we'll do that.
What is the total, is total 341?
Yes.
So
Okay. That's
so
what
the-
I'm just trying to make sure that we keep these
Right.
ballot numbers
Right.
the same as.
And so they put for security
Yeah.
staff, which would be our employees, I
So
think
that's,
215.
yeah, so that is, that money on the budget that's outlined under there is just the money from the levy, but then the state said this year that they're giving money.
Oh, that's
For
the
safety
that's a
also.
safety grant and you can't use any of it for personnel.
Oh.
And it all has to be
Equipment.
used to, address vulnerabilities that were identified during our, building safety inspections by, Mark
So if we didn't
Ferguson.
have any, then we don't qualify?
Then you could use it for upgrades to equipment, but you can't use it for people ever. It's because it's a.
So what if we swapped the money around then, and the money that we were spending on the vape and wanding and all that, I forget what that cost was. Can we use that grant money to reimburse that, so then we could take that money and pay the,
We could, except that when the board approved the vape detectors, we said that we would only do it if they got grants specifically for it, we're not using district funds. So they secured grants specifically.
oh, they did for all of it?
Not all of it yet,
Oh,
they're
okay.
still working on it, but.
Oh, I thought it was just a certain portion and then the district was gonna pay the rest, I don't remember the particulars, okay.
Yeah, so the 71,700, so the correct, MOUs are actually linked into the June 5th board meeting, cause we initially were gonna bring
Okay.
them then, and then, we didn't because we didn't wanna minimize the intent of the special meeting, so we moved it to this. But, so the 71,704 is the salary and benefits.
Mm-hmm.
That's 70% of the salary and benefits, so.
Okay. Well,
I'm
they're not here, so we don't have access to the accurate MOUs.
right there in the other board agenda.
No, I pulled up the June 5th board agenda, they're not here.
No, cause we pushed them to this meeting.
Mm.
So the ones that are in tonight's board book are even the same ones that you
Oh,
have.
but this one's actually the right one. Ramona's saying that the one that she has is wrong, but this one.
Let's go back to old business here.
It's the right one. So, I guess the question just is.
Same document. So this is the 70%. So that's what's in there. Are those documents?
We did.
We did, now
and
they're coming back.
because we approved it at
65.
65%.
Rathdrum doesn't even know
I'm with you, I'm trying to keep it all
Right,
in
Rathdrum
my
doesn't know
brain
I
too.
brought theirs forward because if we're gonna approve one, I feel like we need to approve both. If the board wants to stick with the 65% because we feel like that's fair, then I can let Captain Smart know that and we will have to open that position right away to get it filled because it takes us, it's a long process.
Is the position open for Spirit Lake?
No, I am actually at the July board meeting because we just met with the mayor of Spirit Lake and the police chief, and they are very much wanting to continue the SRO program, and they have guaranteed that that person will be in the building 5 days a week. And after talking to them, I feel like I'm comfortable moving forward with that. I needed to hear from the mayor because he's the one who's making the decisions, so. So I will bring that MOU forward.
Well, so these MOUs are not up for action. They're just identified as old business.
Even though it says approval for.
It doesn't say that they're action items, because it's under old business.
Can you give me some direction as far as whether you want to pay the 70% or not, so I know if I need to let them know that we
I understand that, yes.
have to.
Because we did approve the 65%.
Yeah, I get both sides. I guess we're at the same crossroads we are with the buses,
Yeah.
right? We approved, yes, we told the public what we thought was gonna be, but that's, I mean, the county came back and said, no, we want 70 and forget it. Which is what they pushed for last year.
Right, which is why I asked Sergeant Lullatin if that was what he believed would happen, and he said he had not heard anything from anybody about making any changes, so he said we were good to go. And when I talked to Captain Smart, he clarified that that shouldn't have been the information that was provided, so.
So we're talking $14,700 more dollars, $1,000 a month. I mean, or we could hire our own.
For the two or for one?
That would be the county, the $14,700. We have no idea what the cost is gonna be for Rathrum.
Right, but we've already approved Rathrum. If we're not going with the county, then we can just not do anything with Rathrum, and they're happy with the 65%, so there would be no increase for Rathrum. And Spirit Lake would be at 65%, which is what we've been.
And this SRO's place that we're in the North End schools.
Is that, Garwood?
Yeah.
Conversation?
That's what I think we should move forward with the 70% level. And, you know, if you wanna look at a year from now, if they keep trying to jam us, then,
70%'s been where they wanted to be the entire time because of they're using marine dollars to pay for their part of this person. So,
I agree, it's important to maintain a good relationship with the sheriff's office. There are other issues that come down sometimes where you need that relationship.
And then we have the 5% we have to account for Rathrum, because, and it is the same argument that the county had last year. Everybody had said a 70%. So the same thing we're saying, we can't give 70% to one entity and then tell the other one no.
Right.
You know, so I don't know what else to do, but just to do it because we're already where we're at. It's middle of June, and you know we got so much other stuff ahead of us. I guess we can look for next year or anticipate if the board wants to do that.
Yeah,
You know.
start earlier in the year in recruiting and looking into options of hiring another district safety
So
specialist.
one of the MOU does say that I have to meet with the leaders and the people in charge of each of the 3 agencies that we work with prior to April 1st. So what I might do, I'll just make myself a note and have it as an agenda item at the February board meeting to talk to the board about how comfortable we are with moving forward with what we have in place. So that when I meet with, cause I just have been talking not about the money side of it, but just about the efficacy of the
Right.
program. But if we're at a place where we're looking at our budget and saying, this isn't sustainable, this level of support from the district, and we're gonna move away from this because we need to go backwards, I can then share that information with them when I meet with them in March.
Well, I think we're sort of there now because the bottom line is we don't even know if we'll have a levy next time around, so to speak. And if we're literally, did you say it was nearly double what we paid? How much is it?
Well, it was-
Significantly more?
I said significantly more, yeah. that
Oh,
is
okay.
level.
And then
I
what we
just said
get
that
from, what we
what
get from the
is-
state.
I said what's been allocated in the levy
Oh.
does not support,
Okay, gotcha.
which was actually a misstatement, I guess, because it would support Cooney, but there is no money then for
For
Rathdrum or Spirit Lake. I thought we were going to open it up to find a new armed district safety specialist. I didn't know that we had kiboshed that because we had directed Lisa based on the information with Spirit Lake and its where it was sort of standing. So
we're not getting an SRO in Spirit Lake?
we may
Or-
know, but we're not getting an armed district safety specialist.
Oh, I
thought
mean,
we had
I mean
opened-
a district safety
Yeah.
specialist.
I thought we were gonna be
Unless the
forward
board
with
doesn't
that,
wanna move
but-
forward with the SRO with Spirit Lake. When I had come last time, I let the board know that I had concerns,
Right.
just based on my conversation.
Right.
With the former chief, and since then I have met with the new chief, and he just said, if I have one police officer, that police officer will be at the school. And I said, that's great, but you're not always the one who gets to make the decision, so before I meet with the board and talk to them about this, I really wanna meet with the mayor.
Mhm.
So, Lynn and I met with the mayor and the chief last week, and the mayor is 100% in support of the new chief's vision for the program, so.
Yeah, I agree, it's easier when we own it all.
Yeah.
We don't,
We're not-
there's too many entities trying to
Yeah.
play in the same,
Sandbox?
Yeah.
We're not captive to every move.
yeah, so maybe we should put that on a fairly early
So we can have a
agenda.
conversation
Yeah,
about.
and maybe really look
Absolutely.
at bringing it all in-house so we, I mean, yeah, we need these relationships, but the bottom line is that the community's growing anyways, and
Well, I think before we just say, yeah, let's just keep going forward with it, we need to see what the impact's gonna be to Rathdrum and Spirit
Yeah.
Lake now. Because if we're going back to them now, we're gonna give them more money. I'd really like to know overall, because we told the taxpayers one thing and now we're doing something else. So I'd really like to know overall what that financial impact's gonna be at 70% with all the agencies.
And I don't know how to get that, because they haven't done the budget yet.
well, they can
It's-
give us an idea,
Yeah.
you know?
So
I mean-
Spirit Lake did, and we would pay 70% of 70,000.
Okay.
I would guess that Rathdrum's gonna come a little bit higher than that, but not a lot higher than that,
Mhm.
cause they're usually pretty close.
Yeah, see, that's,
Keeping in mind, every year, we're paying a percentage, we're not paying a specific dollar amount. The dollar amount will go up as salaries.
Right, absolutely.
Salaries agencies
Right.
increase,
right.
so we just
Yeah.
have to keep that in mind.
But when that dollar amount increases and our percentage increases, then
It's a lot of dollars.
Yeah.
it's hitting you twofold.
Yeah.
And there again, we are sharing them, even though we're paying 70% of the salary, I don't know how we can guarantee we're getting 70% of their time also.
Right.
You know, because if something happens, they have somebody takes priority over the school, you know?
Right.
Yeah, both agencies have basically said that each of them, they're the one person who won't get pulled.
Yep.
And there will be no call outs for them. But, if I bring this in February and we are able to have a conversation and talk through this, it does give us time, so if we decide we're gonna move away from the SRO program altogether and we're just going to have armed district safety specialists, it gives me time to let them know that, and then it also gives us time to, because that would be 3 positions that we've gotta fill, and hope that we have quality candidates, because if we let them know we're moving away and we don't have quality candidates, we don't have coverage.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and that's a challenge we've already seen.
Yeah.
Well, I think the SRO program though with Rathdrum and Spirit Lake is, you know, they haven't been unreasonable with
Right,
us.
yeah, we've been.
And they've, you know, we've worked together when we've had issues within the MOU. I don't appreciate just, well, we're changing this and you need to accept it. It's not appropriate.
I am happy to let Captain Smart know that we're going to, move away from that SRO MOU and I can open that position.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a question to the sheriff's department, you know, how important is the SRO program to you as a law enforcement agency and a relationship with the community? If you think it's important enough to continue it, then we need to have better cooperation.
Right, and I would tell you that the sheriff's department believes it's important enough to continue. It's the commissioners that are not as.
That's where it's coming
They'll
from.
have to prevail on the commissioners.
We tried for years to get an SRO and the commissioner said no, so they've always said we're not providing any money from our budget, so which is why it's the Marine dollars, because those are the only dollars that the county, the sheriff's office actually has control over as far as revenue into their office to patrol the lakes during the summer months.
Well, that's what they're doing is we're paying 70%, so we're paying for 8.5 months, and they're paying out of their Marine because those
Right.
people are going to go and be Marine deputies
Mm-hmm.
during those months
Yeah.
that we don't need them.
Deputy Clausen sits at the inspection site at the county line or
Yep.
state line on 53 checking boats for invasive species in the summer.
Out of curiosity, have you had a conversation with the sheriff himself? You might reach out to Commissioner Matari and the sheriff. Commissioner Matari was the sheriff's campaign manager. So you might have a conversation with them
And we pay 10 months. We don't pay 8.
70% is of 12 months is 8.4 months.
Okay.
That's where I was going.
Oh,
with
that's
it.
where you were going.
70% we're paying for 8.5
Right.
months out of a year.
But the salary we're paying for 10 months, so I get what you're saying, but.
We're taking the 70% of the 70,000 and then taking that and spreading it over 10 months.
Yeah.
Do you want me to reach out to Sheriff Norris and Commissioner Matari and let them know that as much as we enjoy working with them, our MOUs for the other agencies are set at 65%, we feel that we need to maintain the 65%?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of pushback.
So my only concern about doing that is we don't meet again until July 10th. And if they push back and say, no, it has to be 70%, we're really behind the 8 ball as far as getting somebody hired at school.
Well, we could have a special meeting, I guess, if we had to. I mean, if you heard something, if you weren't successful in getting that, and might not be, they might just stick to it no matter what, you know. And I guess we could have a special meeting. Either that or we're gonna have some kind of understanding of what the cost is actually gonna be. Like you said, it's probably gonna be much less than this, but we don't. I guess if we can get all the information together, then we can make a decision whether we wanna do the safety specialist now or wait till February and start running it in February, or you know, but at least if we had an idea of what it was gonna be for Rathdrum and Spirit Lake, then we could. I mean, they have to have some kind of idea of what their cost of living increase is gonna be. or their
Spirit Lake told
benefits.
me that they believe
Okay.
it's gonna be 70,000.
Okay.
So we're gonna pay 70% of 70,000.
Okay.
Rathdrum will be a little bit more than that, but it won't be the 100,000 almost that the county is.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, that's reasonable. You know, I mean, that's just a wage, you know, it's not.
And they may not adopt their budgets until August.
Yeah.
But they are.
They have an idea.
Yeah.
And that's all we're asking for, we're not asking to hold them, you know, directly to that, but.
So do you feel like you've received direction?
I'm gonna clarify. Okay, so I'm going to reach out to Sheriff Norris and Commissioner Matari and let them know that, that we're comfortable paying the 65%. I'm gonna reach out to Rathdrum Police Department and find out where they kind of think he might fall for next year based on what percentage of increase they think they're going to give. And then are we going to have a special meeting, or do we wait till July 10th?
What is our current percentage of the raptor?
65%.
That's fairly.
65%.
Yeah, that's
You know, frankly, I don't see a reason to change that unless they request it. I understand what you're saying. By the same token, if we raise them all to 70%, we just locked ourselves into that for as long as we have the program. If the thing with the sheriff's department falls apart, you know, and we stay at 65% with the other two, then we're containing that cost. So, you know, the sheriff's department is the one that's created the dilemma here for all three agencies.
Right. The easier and more time expeditious option for us is to just say thank you to Kootenai County and let them know that we're gonna move away from the MOU, and then we can open the position right away. That's the other option that we have.
last, ADSS that we hired, we started that fairly late in the game, didn't we?
I think we were,
And the only reason I say that is because I know when we were still waiting for his gear to arrive.
yeah, it takes forever, but we actually have, other than the vest, we've already purchased we have a weapon, so that we aren't in that mode again. But the vest has to be personalized, has to be fitted to the person. I think we started it in June, the process of posting.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah. It does, it gives us a whole lot more control over the person. We can control the costs. And there are people, which is a benefit.
However, we have to find the right one.
Right. We have a lot of new people here who have retired from elsewhere who might think this is a great job for retirement.
Okay, so what are we doing?
So plan A would be, I reach out
To
and
everybody and.
say we're gonna stay at 65% and see, I guess with direction from the board. If I reach out to Bob Norris and Commissioner Matari and tell them that we are going to stay at 65%, if the answer is no, rather than bring it back to the board for a special session, can I just move on to plan B, which is we're going to dissolve the MOU and we're going to open the armed district safety specialist position?
Sounds fine with me.
That's fine with me. I only have one other suggestion, and that is we write a letter to the Board of County Commissioners on behalf of the Board of Trustees, expressing our concern over this issue and our desire to stay at what we've
write to them, by the way, because I have written on your behalf before and I've gotten no response from him, but I will send that tomorrow.
I was signed by the board chairman.
I'll just, are you around tomorrow at all?
I'll work it out.
Okay, so I'll just text you once I have it done.
Why don't you email it to me?
Okay.
Because you know how I get.
I'll text you when I've emailed it so you can look for it.
Perfect.
And then you can, feel free to edit.
You might CC that to the sheriff as well.
I can sign it, run it over, and you can scan it, email. Go wherever it needs to go.
Okay. Alright, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to the superintendent follow-up. A lot of information in there. Any,
One of the things when we were doing board agenda prep that Michelle and I talked about was it's sometimes there's just a lot of clicking to see all of the things that I link in there for you. So my follow-up is there with all the links should you want to click on them. But then I also printed them out and scanned all of them together. So there's one. So all of those accompanying documents are actually those links. If that seemed like a much longer document, but it's easier to kind of scroll through. Except that some of the graphs you have to do sideways.
the links in the document don't work, just so you know.
None of the links in the document work?
Nope. At least not on my computer, maybe on everybody else's. Yours are working? Yeah, mine are not.
Oh, cause you're on the.
You have to be in the other.
Yeah, I actually opened the document on
What do you mean?
I think you have to.
When you're in the agenda item, there, under description, it says superintendent follow-up. And if you click on that, then it all opens. If you
Otherwise,
are only in
everything
the
is,
docs.
everything was scanned from the other part.
Under the description is what I need to click, not the PDF.
Just click on that word. There you go.
Okay, so it's the description, it's not the PDF. They don't work in the PDF.
Right, because the PDF is actually this document plus all of the links
Okay,
scanned in, so it's not an active document anymore.
Right. Okay. I mean, I didn't look at them with my head twisted sideways, so it's all good.
But there is not a legend for the HR department. There's not a link to that.
Okay, I'll make sure I get that in there. I must have missed one. I made little notes on the side from me, so I must have missed that one.
The, go back up a
It's
little bit.
the,
It's the number 3.
maybe on your next agenda.
This is what I was looking for, okay. Any further comments, questions, or discussion on the superintendent follow-up?
Who's this questionnaire from?
So, the board, we've had a request from somebody through, I think it's, she's Nampa superintendent maybe? Or no, she's a principal at an alternative school. She's doing her PhD work, and part of that is a survey. So she's requested permission to conduct a research study that the board's been considering for several months, and at the last board meeting, the board wanted to see the questions that would be on the survey, so those are the questions that she would ask. And she's asking kids who have graduated from our alternative high school.
But we didn't approve it.
No,
Yeah.
but that's her intent.
Okay.
We haven't given any approval yet.
So she's surveying students that have already left the district. Do we have permission from the students to give out their information? To connect her with them?
Yeah, I'm not sure, I'd have to go back, it's been a long time since I read through her thing, so I can't remember off the top of my head how she plans on getting the information to those people. We would obviously disseminate that information out, so I need to go back and look.
Okay. And these are kids that have already graduated?
Yeah, 18 to 21.
Okay. The questions are written in present tense.
Right,
That's
that's
what
what
I
I
was
was thinking.
Yeah.
I thought the same
Yeah.
thing
Yeah.
when I read the questions, but yeah, her intent was to find out what people's perception was of their time at their alternative school.
Any comment or conversation?
I guess I would need to know where she's gonna get the information to get it to those students.
I'll go
Before I
back
can-
and reread
yeah.
her intent.
So if I remember correctly, I thought that they were gonna have. She would give it to us and then, or our school district, and then I feel like that was part of our conversation previously.
I think it was part of
When
that
it was-
conversation.
Yeah.
That might have been for Finn's Bailey's.
That may have been too. Can you patch him back?
Found it, but I don't remember what. May 8th board meeting.
She doesn't say how she's gonna get there.
May 8th?
Yeah.
There's no minutes.
Maybe
in
that
here.
was us saying that as long as it
But
was
that-
going
There's
to
no
be
minutes in here for May 8th.
Oh, no, I searched.
us
for
getting it out to
No, 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 I know, I was gonna read the minutes to see
Oh.
what we would
Oh, what we were
determine.
talking about.
That's my fault. I don't get those on the next meeting. I'm
Okay.
sorry about that.
No, that's okay, I was just gonna ask Linda.
Yes, she,
No, I
she
was
just,
there.
she just talks about her survey,
worry.
but she doesn't say, so I'll have to follow up with her and find out how she intends to actually connect with the students, because it's not in her letter to the board, the one-page synopsis.
Okay.
She said she needs permission from the school district / programs in which these schools are housed. And she didn't.
I will reach out with another question.
Oh, please let me know the specific process for obtaining this permission or forward this to the person who would be best able to assist me. Current with your current and former students. Please see and fill out the attached letter template and respond in email. Da, da, da.
Oh, so they're saying disseminate it out.
Yeah.
No, well, the
We
letter,
disseminate it out.
but the
Just
letter,
the letter.
that's in there is actually a letter giving her permission to run the research study. It's not the letter that goes to
Yeah.
anybody.
Okay.
So she does not identify in her synopsis how she plans on communicating with students. So,
Yeah, she does not get correct. She just was looking for permission.
yeah, so I will ask that question.
Well, this is an action item.
How can it be an action item? It's under old business.
It says action after it because we never approved the survey. And we can do that, because it is old
As long
business.
as it says action app.
Correct.
Gotcha, okay.
So, do we wish to table this?
I move to table it
Second.
until we have further information.
Have Having a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to new business, we have curriculum, we have the supplemental list for board consideration. And these are classroom books, books for classroom use.
So if you remember, we did not go with an ELA for high school, an adoption. So they wanted to do novel sets, and so at their very top are accompanying novel set guides to go with the books. And so they want to put all of these books, remember all of these books are an opt-in situation for parents. So they just wanted to have, like, they're gonna put it in their syllabus and get some of these approved. So I just said send them all to me at one time. They may or may not use all of them. But those guides accompany the books down below, so they go hand in hand. So instead of separating, that's why they're together, but these are for, they're novel sets for the classroom use. So they are library books, and we are not bringing library books to the board, but because they will be used for the classroom, that's why these are here.
It appears that there's only 2 books. One book appears to be a series, that there's been some concern identified over.
Bless you.
Conversation, discussion? No? Thoughts? We're not having any discussion or conversation. Maybe we have thoughts.
Lots of those. I'm fine with all but those ones that they brought out. I mean,
The 3.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're fine with that, I'm fine with it.
Okay. I don't want to entertain a motion at this time.
I move that we approve the supplemental curriculum with the exception of the 3 with concerns.
Point of clarification.
Second the motion.
I don't find 3 concerns.
Sure, okay, so one may or may not be, so it's the Into the Wild, was one of them, and the other one was the trilogy, the Divergent, Insurgent, Allegiant. And then the other of concern was the glass castle.
Correct.
Right, the last two, I did see that those were concern. It appears that Into the Wild, there's not concern on the content of the book, there's more concern on the applicability in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was, you know, cause the comment is just, I'd like to know more about what is being taught, before recommending this unit.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there's a problem within the content. So, is it still your?
Well, they have concerns and we can't
Okay.
answer their concerns, so,
Okay. Alright.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to the secondary math and science adoption.
So all of them are behind you, except for Alex, because it's a digital. It had been previously approved, I think, a year or two ago for secondary, and then, Math 180, I was supposed to have here, and it's not. It was also approved before Timberlake Middle School was using it. I'm just gonna pass some of these around. We did have the review committee, look at all of these.
People actually read through those books. Give us
I will
feedback.
tell you, we did not have a lot of takers on math.
Oh, really?
No.
On the, with respect to
With
math 180 or college
the
algebra?
trig
Okay.
and the calculus books. Well, I'll just let you guys see these. One book was a concern, because it's the body anatomy one.
Mm-hmm.
The body structures and functions, but that entire class and the whole entire content is an opt-in situation. It's our health stuff.
Mm.
So there were multiple people that looked at, only one person expressed concern about it, but I'll let you guys delve into all of that.
Did you want a book, Dave?
Sure.
You want this pre-calc book?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Chemistry? Yeah. That's right up my field.
Take you back to the day.
I wanna sit in this class, it's forensic science.
It's
class.
a fun class. They get to, they run crime labs, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
This is an English-Spanish glossary. Cool.
I was looking to see, so this is a teacher's guide.
You said there was just the one that had some concerns. And
Yeah,
that was
the-
the anatomy. Okay.
This one here, did you wanna see it, or?
It's just.
One
it's an
person.
opt-in.
What were the concerns?
Just the content, it's the sexual nature of it, you know, it talks about AIDS, it talks about just some of that. I can forward the notes to you, but that's that opt-in.
Okay.
It covers our health standards,
Mhm.
but some parents don't want their kids to participate, so
Right.
that would be the opt-in part.
Here's-
And remember, this is for, it's high school, it's
High
not
school,
middle
yeah.
school.
Right.
Mhm. But it's some of those explicit topics. Apparently I do have math 180. I thought I asked for it, but the 9 of her, but I guess it was given to Kelsey, so. that is what Timberlake has. We've been using it. Timberlake was approved to use it, but Lakeland Middle School now wants to use it.
Okay.
It's for our intervention groups.
What
For our
was that one?
Math 180.
Oh,
Kelsey's
okay.
getting it for me. I just said it to her. I was like, oh, I was supposed to get it, and it didn't show up. And
Okay.
so I'm just gonna put this right by you, Dave. So let me just kind of explain. There's
Oh, this
6
is a
different
student
books.
book.
These are student books, but it's more domain specific. So it just like it covers fractions, it covers decimal, it covers multiplication. So this is for our concepts classes.
Can you explain concepts classes?
Our kids who are struggling with the traditional pathway that needs a little bit more foundational support. So our SPED classes will use this, and then some of our concepts classes. So it's domain specific. So like here's multiplication and division, here's fraction. So less language, more concept specific. So it's more more conceptual, less.
Are these all students? They are all students.
Teachers edition.
This one is?
What's it say on the front?
Here's linear
No, it doesn't
relationships
say.
for Math 180.
Here's the teacher edition of that one.
Oh, do you,
Yeah.
are
It's
the,
third side.
I was just curious if the, standards, if it referenced the standards in the.
So for Math 180, here's some of the teachers' editions, and then you have copies of the student editions as well. But the idea is that our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that are struggling, there's 6 books, and they will work through these concepts so that they're getting more support in some of those foundational skills and prerequisite deficits that they're struggling with. So that the goal with this Math 180 is that they're all algebra ready going into high school.
Soaking it in. Or double book.
When are we actually teaching a class in
It's a science elective.
Is it?
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
I want to take that class.
Blood spatters. And on and on. It's very interesting.
Kids love it.
That's super cool.
Sense of taste and smell. Yeah, I see. I think we're gonna make a motion for someone to fix that.
Yeah. It's not an action item.
Yeah, gosh darn it, well, how about direction? Fix the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah. That could be under discussion
Mhm.
for the next board meeting.
Fill out a ticket.
Yeah. Give me one.
We
I'll
have
go
filled
now,
out
too.
a lot of tickets for this air conditioning.
So sorry, I'm so dramatic.
You need a little mister fan that you can wrap around your neck.
That's what
Just
Kelsey
spritz
said
the
she's
air.
getting me for my birthday.
Yeah.
My mister.
Fan?
That's what Michelle just said.
I think these are pretty cool.
Yeah, those,
These,
the
yeah.
math 180 is.
Yeah.
You guys want to see more of me? Again, there's 6. Is there another one you want to see?
No, I think it's all laid out. I had
Yeah.
a question on the, so none of our teachers' manuals, outline any standards that might be met by whatever they're teaching, it's up to the teachers to
Which
figure
program
that
are you
out.
talking about?
Well, any of them. does the science, the math, the chemistry, I mean, do any of them say, because I've seen more recent teachers' manuals, which were really nice because it gave not only the objectives, but the standards that were being met also.
I thought it addressed them somewhere in there.
Sometimes it's on the scope and sequence on the
Oh,
website
okay, instead of on the,
instead of
okay.
actually in the textbook.
Especially in the student one.
I thought it'd be
Get some of
nice
these books
to-
out of your way.
if the teachers have to go through and identify all that, if they have a place to go to at least grab it.
And their pacing guides outline all of that for them,
Yeah.
which lesson is matched with. That's how we have the pacing guide set up.
Yeah, this looks like a really, I mean, I would like that book for my life.
Do you want me to just take these and put them behind you so they're not on your table?
Forensic, yeah, it's really,
I
and
think
that,
they're fine where they're at.
Okay.
that anatomy
I'm not
book
worried
is
about it.
actually pretty cool too. It looks like pretty good stuff,
Did,
yeah.
would you like me to read?
No.
Okay. I'm just checking.
Does anybody wanna look at the science anymore?
I'll take them home tonight and read them all.
Okay.
You're all of them?
Yeah, no.
Do you have your book bag?
Yeah.
And on our next one.
It's been a long time since our high school teachers have had new textbooks there.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I would have done this for you guys.
I know.
Lynn, can you just summarize, how the process worked in choosing these secondary books?
So, as not a secondary science or math person, we initially had the teachers reach out to several companies to start funneling down which programs they were going to look at. And so once they had a few books that they were selected that they felt like met their standards and had the rigor that they needed, I asked several people on the curriculum committee. I had to send out several emails. And then I stalked a few people and just said, please read these. I just think they're a little bit intimidating. And so then I had the several parents and committee members look at it. And then from there we narrowed it down similar to what we did with everything else. And those were the ones that everybody agreed with. We had both Lakeland High School and Timberlake. So the goal, I don't know who requested this a while ago, of just trying to get some uniformity between our two high schools and between our two middle schools. And so we wanted to have a common textbook that we were all using. So once Timberlake kind of agreed, then we had Lakeland, and then we had parents. And so then coming together with, these are the choices.
Okay, so we will have.
There will be. So
universal.
we'll have pacing guides. Our goal going into the fall will be to start looking at assessments across the board, so we have uniformity with assessments. So some uniformity with summative assessments, but pacing guides, we're not going to have a separate one for Timberlake, separate one. Everybody's coming together with common.
Good.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Is that the year?
Yes.
So this one did have the standards listed in it. And also it's pretty cool because it has also for emerging and proficient students, so you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Differentiation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
That's the newest edition of the publisher that we have been currently
The
using.
current adoption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very nice. I hope the teachers like it, or I guess they picked it, so.
Yeah, and they had some time really looking at it, perusing it. They were the ones that kind of led where they were going to go and find. So they brought several of the companies to me, because I wouldn't even know where to start with them as far as just content, because again, this isn't my specialty. And so when everybody, it sounds like, was unanimous on board with, they liked these and this is where we're going. So the other thing just to note is the Algebra 1 book. Because we offer algebra in 8th grade, we are using the same book. So if we give a high school credit for Algebra 1 in 8th grade, it is the same math book used in Algebra 1 as a freshman. So that is a change from what we've done in the past. So we're really trying to there's some significant uniformity with all the pacing guides, K-12. So with all high schools, middle schools, and all 6 elementary schools. So
Cool.
We're moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
Consistency.
So if they do
Consistency.
algebra 1 in the 8th grade, they're not repeating it?
No.
so-
Mm-mm. So the way it works, if you get algebra credit and you pass in 8th grade, then you'll jump straight to geometry as a freshman. Then you go to algebra 2 as a sophomore. There are some different paths once you become a junior and a senior, but you could do the trig, pre-cal, calc. There's other options once you get into junior, senior year. But they don't retake it, so.
Okay.
But we felt like if we're giving credit, it needs to match the rigor.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
You have a grand total of the cost for all of these?
Do that really fast for you. Nope, did not do that. I had it written down somewhere a while ago, but I'll look really fast. At least you know the math whiz. In your head. I mean, I would imagine we're probably close to all of the ESSER dollars, the use of all of them. I'm waiting for your
College algebra and trig is 67.95.
I knew you were gonna ask me that question. I wrote it down.
Was 2, so okay, so 217, 80.
High school textbooks are almost as much as college textbooks these days.
Because
On the quotes.
For the college kids.
on the college algebra and trig, I'm showing 67.95.
Yeah.
Make the students buy those.
Right, and then there's another quote, a different quote that is for the map 180.
Save us money. Not really, because they're the ones that have the best books.
I mean, we're trying fast.
Oh, no, they're, yeah.
217.80 plus shipping. They didn't identify the shipping cost. So shipping costs not more than that.
It's gonna be, yeah, we're sitting at really close to like 1.2, 1.3 for all of it, which is what I anticipated.
The projector?
I think Jessica showed 1.4 left in the ESSER dollars, so.
So we're right. Yeah.
That has to be spent on this.
We're right at 1.2, 1.3.
Use it or lose it.
Plus tax, shipping. Yeah, what did I miss?
Did you?
Yeah, 610.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know.
What am I missing?
I don't know. I came
It's
up with
gotta
the
be
same number.
here.
Yeah, so I opened I don't know, I'd have to open every single one of them again and do it.
Well, I did open every single one of them.
Yeah.
Um,
So did you write them down, so you've got the, 141, 351?
yep. 67.95.
And then, okay, do you have the 33, 753, 60?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, 54, 660, 15?
Yep.
73, 838, 51?
Yep.
82, 343, 63?
Yep.
Then you said you had the 33, 753, 60?
Yeah, you called that out twice.
Oh, I already called it out, okay. 67.95, you got that one,
Yep.
and then,
217.
this guy here. Yes.
Did you add the, so, and that's not on here, right?
Which one?
The full science, the amplify science?
Yeah, the chemistry, physics, and physical
The
science.
Amplify's not on here, that's already done.
Yeah,
So, they have a discrepancy, they're saying that they're getting to like
I came-
600,000.
I came up to 610,000.
Well, because in some, it's on multiple, like a couple of the docs, there's multiple quotes because it's different subsections. It's not the total at the bottom. I can print them all in.
That one is one.
So if you go the first one, the algebra quote, is
Mhm.
right at 141, 351.
Right.
Okay. And then the second algebra one with trig is sitting at 695,
67.95.
67.95, yep, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Just trying to navigate the computer and just at the same time. Math 180. If it comes out cheaper, I like it. Is a 209, 880.
I have 217, 380.
yeah, if you go all the way down.
Oh, yep, you're right. See, I missed that. I did.
Okay.
Okay. The next one is 33, 753, 60.
Yep.
And then earth science and biology. So you have 54, 660, 15.
Yep.
And then you have 45, 10.
Okay.
And then you have 54, 660, 15. Or that's the top
No,
line. So
it
those
should,
are
it
just
should
two.
only be 54,660 because that's a summary at the top of
Yeah.
the two different
But
items
it
on there.
doesn't add in the 4510 anywhere.
Yeah, it does. It's
Does
earth
it?
science is 4510 and biology is 47,555.
Mhm.
And then shipping and
Okay,
handling is
okay.
2595.
I'm trying to see if I'm clear on this computer. Okay, so now here, the next one, so we're hoping your numbers are right. 73, 838.
Yep.
And then, are we thinking, so then I have the 13, 834.
13, 834.
From what?
It's the chemistry. I'm just trying to see if they're combining it just based on here.
Well,
And then physics, they're putting as 11, 881. And then physical science was, they were saying the total is 46, 339. This is the one, I can't see all of it.
Oh, it's it has
So
a
the
summary
very
at the top
bottom
as well.
it says, okay, so 73, 838.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
that one.
yeah.
So I think that's the one that I added more to it.
Okay.
And then the very last one, is there a summary at the top of this one?
No.
Should be 82, 343,
Yep.
63.
Yeah, so you were right, I was wrong.
610.
Yeah, I like that better.
Which math class do you wanna take?
Hey, I said at the very beginning, I prefaced it with secondary math.
should try to get Lisa to do it.
Trying to look it up, I tried to get Lisa to, I tried to pawn it off.
Did try to phone a friend.
I'm going to review those concepts books.
Wasn't very nice. See, they
So
wanted to
I
write
mean-
secondary curriculum.
What'd you say?
You wanted her to write curriculum.
Well, not math.
Somebody else
really
can do
good
that.
at math,
Maybe
just
you
not
do
right
it.
now,
Maybe.
on a computer, while I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Okay, so we came up, with 610, 124.89, should be the total cost for the curriculum.
I like it.
Me too.
Yeah. Especially considering we have that 1.4 in ESSER funds. That has to
Yeah.
be spent on that type
Right.
Well,
purchases, so.
and now if we
Yeah.
can divert it now to the next curriculum that we need to get, replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
improved,
good for
updated, whatever we
6
wanna
years,
call it.
Right.
You know, yeah.
And we
We're on
have
a
that
6-year
time
schedule
to
again.
develop a.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
And I, again, caveat to this is we probably will order more of these. I mean, this is based off of some of our numbers. One of the books, I wanna say it was the physical science, wasn't it physical science, Lisa? Lakeland wasn't initially gonna need more books, and then, they came back later after I'd already gotten the quote, and so they may need more, but numbers are, you know, there'll be an adjustment, so we will spend more once we have better enrollment numbers going into the fall. I mean,
If
that's
our
just-
enrollment goes up.
Yeah, that's just the nature of, or if, you know, more kids want the physics and we have more I mean, that's just the nature of some of that, so if, you know, Jessica's saying we have a buffer, which that'll be good.
Yeah, that will be really good. Okay. So on that note, I'll entertain or do we need further conversation on the secondary math and science adoption?
It's not talking
No,
about
I
math
do,
skills.
I would like to understand, I think I understand where the AI is coming in for Alex.
Okay.
And I think it's used in the same manner we use Freckle, in that, I would have to read more on it, but that it is, I don't know that there's interaction with the AI, but that it is predicting the gap that the student may be at and what to ask the student next based upon the information that's already been given.
That's correct.
And I would have concern if we were interacting and if it was doing the teaching, because it is heavily biased. I mean, that's just the nature of AI based upon the people that are programming. It's just a conversational tool. So whoever's programming it and their biases are implemented into it. Cause it is very good at correcting you if you're not thinking along its lines.
Yeah, well, so the algorithms that they put in place, and there are a lot of them,
Mhm.
look at an answer that a student gives, and based on the answer and what the actual correct answer is, determines where the mistake was made,
Mhm.
and then starts to change the pathway to correct the error that it, and so it's constantly gathering information and then putting you, it's that individualized path
Mhm.
for math
Yeah,
competencies.
Yeah, I will go through and try and learn a little bit more about what it's doing, but I think just initially perusing their website, cause it didn't jump out at me at first. I think probably to their detriment, they use some buzzwords that they should have left alone, because it's really not an interactive AI. Like we think of conversation AI, but it's more of a predictive analysis of what's happening. But Anita can fill me in on what she learned, and I'll go from there.
There is no interaction, it really just, it uses the information that comes through the algorithms that are built in to determine what's the next question that the student needs to interact with to help it conceptualize whatever misunderstandings there are so they can continue to move.
Yeah, that would be my only, cause I didn't have enough, I tried to read their transcripts, but even that wasn't easy to follow. On what they were actually doing.
It's very similar to the pathway in iReady.
Yeah, that's
It's
what-
just at Alex actually goes pre-K all the way to 25, so through college as
Mhm.
far as your math
Mhm.
competency. But it's designed and developed and it works just like the iReady pathway does for math. It just looks a little bit more high schoolish, the high school, well, and iReady only goes through 8th grade standards.
Yeah.
And when we look at our math scores for ISATs, we continue to have some struggles. So they need some way to kind of predict where kids are and have some data to look at to kind of know that we're gaining the skills that we need. We don't have any of that right now at the high school level.
And we're already using this at this level. I'm just wondering if this was something more newer that they implemented, or
The reason why we brought it is, so both high schools have been using it, but because we wanted to just, instead of doing it annually, we just wanted to do the 6 year. That's why we brought it, so that it was just, we were using ESSER dollars to just do it that way.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how much they've enhanced their software. Is
Oh,
what it is.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? How much that it's changed as technology's changed and what's actually going on there. So, our next meeting's in July. So if we don't approve the Alex at this meeting, is next meeting too late to order? No?
And we're already using it, so
Yeah.
we already know how to kind of pull
Okay.
kids in, and it's just turning the licenses on.
Okay, cause it says that I can sign up on their website and I can actually get a free thing and look at it just to, I'm
Might
looking at the initial.
Challenge your math skills.
Yeah, I sure will. From looking at the initial, I don't think it's that bad, but you never know. We'll see. Okay, I don't have any more. Conversations.
We are in, I don't wanna say desperate, but kind of desperate need of a tool like this at the high school
Yeah.
level, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure if it's what I'm thinking it is, and it's no different than if we did it by hand and just kept trying to find the gap and fill the gap kind of thing.
Yeah, it just analyzes the mistakes and then puts you on a path to correct them.
Any further conversation, discussion on the secondary math and science adoption? Anything further? Okay, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
I would move that we approve, the secondary math and science with the exception of Alex. So we can get a better understanding of the AI implementation.
I'll second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Why the exception? I don't.
The artificial intelligence piece for the Alex, just to see how involved it is. If it is truly only, cause I haven't looked at it, I don't know if it's a one-on-one conversation happening with the software, or if it's literally just saying, oh, you missed this one, so now I'm gonna give you this. That was the concern that we had tonight, was the AI information and what it was gathering or taking in from the student.
So will it be brought back then?
Yeah, July.
Is there time to do that, or?
Yeah, that's what Trustee Grissom just asked, if we approve it in July. It's already been approved by the board. It's being used in the classrooms, or not now because school's closed, but it has been. And so it's a single sign on through Clever. So we already have all the processes in place. It's just turning the licenses on.
I was just looking at the change that the software has made from the iteration we had to the iteration now. That was the reason for the motion, to see how much the AI, what it actually is doing.
4 in favor, 1 abstain. Motion passes. Next up, we have the administrator salary matrix.
I had called Chair Thompson on Friday last week because after putting together this matrix, CFO Grantham actually looked at what would the cost be to have our classified administrators and our certified administrators have the same % increase as the classified staff and a little bit closer to the increase for the certified staff, which would be a 5% increase, but because it had already been posted, we couldn't add it, but we do have that document as well. And her recommendation and mine would be that we go with the 5% so that we're pretty similar across the board between all groups, and it helps us get a little bit of distance between our top end teachers and our principals.
Just for clarification, I don't recall saying let's just go with this in favor of it. It was brought to my attention that there was a varied, we can go this percentage or this percentage or this percentage. That Lisa had stated that I guess admin felt that based on Trustee Quimby's comment with respect to, some teachers make more than administrators and it's very frustrating, that the district heard Trustee Quimby, so they wanted to increase administrator pay so that wouldn't be happening. My confusion in the whole mix was that when Trustee Quimby brought it up, I think the point of contention is that we stipend so much for everything under the sun at times that teachers are in a position that they are making more than administrators. So that I interpreted what Trustee Quimby's comments were about was we need to back off of the stipending and keep people within their salary brackets. So,
I was just saying it's not ethical or right to have teachers making more than their boss and doing less work.
Yeah.
They're there less hours, and they're walking out the door. And then you got administrators that are there nights and weekends and making less money.
I know teachers that are there nights and weekends. I know teachers that work all summer.
I never said there wasn't.
Yeah.
I never said there wasn't teachers. I just said it's unethical for
Yeah,
me
the
to
boss
be in charge of
making-
you
Yeah.
to make less than you. That's not right.
On the salary or the
Yeah.
stipending in, the
Yeah.
salary in.
Yeah, and the double dipping of the classes and,
Right.
so they're making more money. So why is there any incentive for a teacher to go up to an admin spot if
Right.
they make more? It doesn't make any sense.
And that would be the 5%?
Yeah, so our certified salary, our certified teachers are getting anywhere from a 6% to a 12%, 13%, depending on, our newer teachers are going to get a bigger percent increase just because they're making less to start with and they got a big bump. So our more veteran teachers kind of down toward the bottom are making 6 to 8% more next year than they did this year. So what we provided was 3% because that's kind of been what we've done. But then as we were talking and started to hear from administrators asking if I went back to the classroom, how much would I make? And we're starting to realize that it would be very similar to some of our principals. Jessica just looked at what does it cost for 3%? How much more is it for 4%? How much more is it for 5%? And we can make the 5% work. But it had already been posted. The agenda had been posted, so I wasn't able to get the document there. And I just want you to know that that's.
Well, what's on the agenda is a 3% increase.
Right.
But you're actually recommending 5.
same recommendation for the classified admin also because it shows a 3%, but if our goal is to try to get everybody closer to a 5. The classified staff will be a 5% on the cell, but then they get a 2% step down, so they'll be about 7.
I noticed that the $2,000 stipend for the PhD is not in the 2024.
It's still, it is, we didn't take it off, so we just must have missed it. It's still there. At some point, we might want to revisit that, because make more money, you get a stipend for $3,000 for a master's degree, and then we're stipending $2,000 for PhD.
How do we come up with the assistant superintendent, pay? Great, so we've come out of executive session, there are no post-executive actions, meeting adjourned. It is 11:42. 11:42.
My favorite number.
11:42.